Hello, welcome to MC FLO. Today we will show you how to build up a simple model with MC FLO, therefore we go directly to the model. We have here the goal to calculate the budget for 6 factories. Here we see on the left side that we have minimum values, so we assume that at minimum we need 1.5 million monetary units to for our factories, and as maximum 2 million monetary units. So what we have to calculate is the amount, or the required amount that we need for the next planning year, taking into account that our budget should be so calculated that we can be confident with a 90% chance that no budget overrun will occur. So for the first factory, or for one factory, the calculation is very easy. So we have to choose only the minimum, the difference between the maximum minimum, and multiply it with the required confidence level, and that will give us the expected budget that we need for one factory. So a naive methodology of calculation to calculate the budget that we need for all 6 factories would be to choose the cost for one factory and multiply it with the number of factories that we have, number 6. So now we would like to reproduce the calculation using Monte Carlo simulation instead of an analytical calculation that we have done so far. So first of all, what we have to do is to define a random variable for the cost for our input resources that we have for each factory. Within MC FLO we have 3 methodologies, or 3 instruments how we can define an input variable. The first one is to choose our wizard and to select a corresponding distribution. Here we assume that the cost between 1.5 and 2 million monetary units are equally distributed, so we choose here uniform distribution. You can see here with increasing number of iterations that the empirical distribution follows our approximates the theoretical distribution here, the uniform distribution. So we will give it a name. We say here factory number 1. Sorry, we have here the English one, and we would like to choose the German one. So, and we introduce the lower limit, which is 1.5 million monetary units, and for the upper limit 2 million monetary units. So we can show it here and see here, yes, it's well shaped. So we save the variable, and we see here that MC FLO has registered the corresponding variable in the name manager. So the second way to introduce a random variable is to choose the ribbon field here with the uniform distribution, and here we can make directly a reference to the corresponding access cells for the corresponding parameters. Now we will give it a name and say factory number 2. So now we have here registered 2 input variables. So the third one is a very simple one. We choose directly within the editor of Excel the corresponding distribution, uniform distribution, and now we make a reference directly to the corresponding values and also directly to the corresponding name. Now we will expand it to the other factories, and now we have to do only to register those variables, and now we have totally 6 input variables registered within MC FLO. So we see here, if we make a corresponding simulation only for the input variable here, we see that the 90% chance is about 1,950,000, which is equally, or which is approximately the value that we have calculated here analytically for one factory. So we would like to choose, or we would like to calculate it for the total factories, and here we use sum here in German for all the corresponding variables, and this is our result. So we will register it with an output variable. We name it only simply sum. So now we are able, as we have introduced input variables and also one output variable, to perform a Monte Carlo simulation. So we will make it here with 1000 iterations. So we start, and you see within a few seconds that we have the corresponding results. And we see here that the output does not behave as a uniform distribution. We see here that we have a normal distribution. And we can see here, using the 90% percentile, that we have a complete other solution that we have calculated before. So let's just make us more visible. So we choose a function that we have here in MC FLO, and we say we want to calculate the percentile for the variable sum using the corresponding confidence level, which is here the reference to that variable. And we see here that the result of the 90% confidence level for our planning is 10,958,000 monetary units instead of the 11,700,000 that we have calculated before. So this is commonly known as the flaw of the extreme values. So typically, using uncertainty that we have here in our model means that the addition of two numbers are not linearly distributed, or to say it in other terms, 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. So here with this simple kind of model, we have shown you how easy it is to use Monte Carlo simulation for your daily work. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us, and goodbye.